this Tim Dillon interview on CNN. There's so much to this interview. Um, I'm looking at some of the critiques of the interview, most of which I think are coming from conservatives, of course. It's tribalism. You have CNN, which represents the other team, and she is sort of pushing him on certain things, and there's a back and forth. So the whole tribal thing of like the guy on your team is standing up against the corporate media and she was trying to whatever and he didn't fall for it. Um, so you got that going, of course. But as a political dissident who is not part of these tribes, the centrist, the left, or the right tribe, um, I, of course, see this interview from a little bit of a different perspective. And one of the things, I mean, let's first of all start off with CNN is garbage, right? I know a lot of Americans have this black and white sort of thought process. So it's either you're with us or you're against us. So if I'm calling out Tim Dillon, then I must be a liberal and I must like CNN. The idea that I could agree with you and think that CNN is trash as well, but also see a lot of big problems with Tim Dillon is like that's unheard of. It's like, what team are you on? Are you with Tim Dillon or are you with CNN? How about I'm with neither? How about that? Um, so with that being said, I definitely would have a lot of disagreements with this woman. What is her name? Al Reeve. Because I mean she works for a trash network, of course, and not just simply because she works for a trash network, but what comes with that. I mean, this is how she makes a living, right? So she's associating with the people, her coworkers. She's in a certain culture. She's in a certain circle. So you know, it's going to affect her to some degree for sure. And I can see it in her content. She definitely has some good stuff, some good points of views, but she's certainly a problematic person, just like her problematic network that she's on. That being said, during the interview, I did feel that some of it was kind of weird. I wasn't really sure what she was going for with some of the questions. I don't know if she may have been getting a little bit. I don't want to use a certain word because people are going to look at it the wrong way, but let's just say she is human. She's part of legacy media, which has been struggling. And this guy is representing part of new media. He's part of the new mainstream. He's part of the new establishment. And he's kind of operating in a lot of the same ways that people on CNN in the past. So imagine Tim Dillon being one of the hosts on CNN. So you, by being a host on a CNN, you're part of this mainstream in terms of you have access, right? So you're a CNN host, you have access to the president, you have access to all these Democrats, you have access to all these very elite people. Um, you or someone might actually be friends with Joe Biden or friends with Kamala Harris, right? You're very well connected with the what do you call it, the establishment. That's what Tim Dillon is now, right? I'm pretty sure Tim Dillon, just like a CNN host would, has a lot of access to either the president or people close to the president, people within the president's circle. um, I can guarantee you he can get uh, tons of top level GOP politicians on the show. So he's got the access, he's got the contacts. I'm sure he's being invited to certain events, and he's literally friends with these people. So Tim Dillon is friends and in the circle of the most powerful people in the country. He is directly in that circle of power that is our government, right? Trump is the president. Trump has his loyalists at all, not, I shouldn't say literally all, but most of the leading agencies, the FBI, Department of Homeland Security. He's got these loyalists there. So Tim Dillon is part of that circle. That has the ultimate power. There's no one that has more power than MAGA right now. MAGA has pretty much taken over the country. They have taken over the government. So Tim Dillon is definitely, again, he's like in many ways representing the new establishment. But one thing I noticed was, so some of the critiques, they say that Ellie, or whatever her name is, however you pronounce it, that she is kind of speaking almost like she's speaking to a child, or she's got a teacher voice thing. She's kind of like, don't you think that don't you think that you're a new establishment? Don't you think that, you're like, you know what I mean? Okay, admittedly, uh, some of that did come off a little bit weird, but I think a lot of the people critiquing her for that may not understand maybe where that's coming from. I can't read her mind, but I could presume where that's coming from. A very harsh reality that'll be hard to accept by many, um, not just conservatives, but conservatives who are part of the right wing movement. Because if you're just simply a conservative, that's a different thing. But if you're part of the MAGA movement, or you're part of any major right wing movement, I mean, the movement is basically um, a cult at this point. But the thing is, the harsh reality that I think many conservatives would have a hard time accepting is, put aside all the bravado and all the beards and the, oh, look at me taking a picture with my gun, and oh, I love the military, and, you know, um, talking about liberal snowflakes. Some of the biggest snowflakes in the country are the American conservatives. And I think she realizes this, and part of that is why she's speaking the way she is. Here's the harsh reality, because I know that I wouldn't do it in the way that he does it, but I would have this. I'm sorry that she did it, but I would have the same kind of problem, which is why she's probably doing that, which is talking to a guy like Tim Dillon. I mean, there is a level of snowflake to him. I don't look at him generally as a snowflake, but he definitely has a little bit of that sort of, I don't know, some combination of victimhood, some combination of weakness. And what I mean is, if I were talking to him, I would feel like I'm on eggshells. Just like I would feel like if I'm talking to a typical American conservative. Again, not just a conservative, but someone who's part of the movement. When I say the movement, I'm talking about if you're politically engaged, if you are, someone who feels like you like Trump, or Trump is great, or you relate to the Make America Great Again. Maybe you have some problems with some people in MAGA, but in general, the Make America Great Again, it sort of connects with you. And again, you're politically engaged. But if you're just a conservative, so you just like low taxes, or small government, I'm not talking about those people. But for the politically engaged people who are part of the movement, um, it's tough to talk to them, man. I've tried to talk to these people many, many times, and they are very, very sensitive. You know, if I say the wrong word, they get so defensive, and they shut down, and you just can't talk to them, right? Like I could be talking to a right winger about politics, and then I might mention, you know, let's say we're talking about terrorism, right? And I say, you know, the people at January 6th, they were terrorists, right? Specifically talking about the ones who use violence, of course. I could see the whole conversation just completely shutting down, and they start over talking me, and they're not really. Everything becomes super emotional, and it's like, what about Black Lives Matter and this and that, and the left is blah, 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 and they'll be all over the place, right? Everything else except the root of what I'm talking about. If I talk about January 6th terrorists, and we're being honest, and we're being rational, then we know what the definition of terrorist is. So clearly, I'm talking about those who use violence for political means. attacking the police officers and such, right? But a typical right winger wouldn't engage with that reality of what I'm saying, right? They would look at it as I'm attacking them. It's almost as if they went to January 6th. I'm calling them a terrorist, right? Even though I'm not, they may not have even been there. They don't know anybody that went there, but that they would respond as if I'm attacking them. So they would take it personally. And they would be taking it so personally that their brains would just shut down and they would not have any connection with the reality of I'm talking about the violent people, right? So they would say stupid things like a lot of those people were just taking pictures, as if I'm talking about those people, right? And then they want to distract and say, well, they didn't get due process or this and that or even just completely sidestep and let's talk about Black Lives Matter. So the whole conversation is derailed just by me accurately pointing out that there were terrorists at January 6th, just like how there were terrorists who just shot, or a terrorist who just shot two Jewish people. I forgot, was it in DC or something? There were two people were killed. That's terrorism, right? People who bombed Teslas, terrorists, right? I think I'm one of the few people that you will see online, especially on this platform, who will I am an equal opportunity person in terms of calling out terrorism. Terrorism is when someone is using violence for political means. It's not people I don't like doing it, right? So when the right wing does terrorism, I call it terrorism, January 6th. When the left wing does terrorism, like for example that guy that killed a Trump supporter in Seattle, I call that terrorism, right? Right now, for example, that guy, that terrorist that killed those two Jewish people um, within this week, I can almost guarantee you, almost no one in left wing media is going to refer to that as terrorism or a terrorist. But had it been someone who was like a Trump supporter who killed like a Democrat, I guarantee they'd all be first in charge. Oh, this is terrorism. He's a terrorist. He's a terrorist. He's a terrorist, right? It's the same game that these tribalists play, whether they're left wing or right wing. But the point is, I find it especially difficult to talk to a right winger like a Tim Dillon, where you have to walk on eggshells because, again, one wrong move and they get so defensive and it's like, oh, what about this? You can't even have a conversation. So I feel like um, Reeve, I'm gonna just call her Reeve, she was trying to deal with that same problem that I would have, but she did it in a very weird way. I guess that's her way of dealing with it. So it was kind of weird a little bit with the soft voice and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's what it was all about, man. She just, I don't want to say afraid like she was afraid of him, but she's trying to have a conversation. And in order for the conversation to be good, she needs to keep him from going too defensive you know and here's the thing, even with all that she was doing, it 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 had limited benefit because he still was all sort of what's the word, he still was squirming around and bending himself and oh no, how we the establishment, oh it's crazy, it's crazy, it's crazy, you think we're as powerful as the CIA, saying stupid stuff like that, like she was implying he's as powerful as the CIA. It was just it was ridiculous. Every point that she was trying to make, he just, I don't think he was honestly trying to listen to her and understand her perspective. um he just was like super defensive and like, you're wrong and you're crazy, and we're still, not his exact words, but this is kind of the approach, we're still the victim, we're still the underdog, we don't have any power, there's still this evil deep state, even though Trump is in the White House and he's put all his loyalists, but somehow the deep state is still a problem, and there's some elites in the shadows, not the billionaire Trump and all the billionaires in his cabinet, right? There's still some shadowy boogeyman in the shadows that we should really be, they're the ones you should really be afraid of. So it's kind of like, for all these years you've talked about this, and then it's basically like MAGA caught the car. You caught the car. You've been running and running and barking, socialism, socialism, Marxism, all this big noise. You got this big car, right? Because you say the deep state, and somehow the deep state didn't kill you, right? Somehow Trump was able to, we got these losers that try to kill him and didn't know how to do it, right? Somehow the deep state, because come on, man, we got special forces guys that if they wanted to take out Trump, he would have been out. But somehow that didn't happen. Somehow he's allowed to run and he's allowed to win, right? But now they're in charge. Now he has full control. He's been gutting the government, and yet Tim Dillon can't even accept the very basic of that he is now part of the circle of power, right? Not unlike how CNN was, right? Again, the hosts on CNN, they were in this inner circle. They were friends with these people in the government, friends with Democrats. They had the access, right? They could get on any Democrat they want. That's Tim Dillon now. He can get on any GOP person. He's friends with these people who are in power. I'm pretty sure if he wanted to, he could probably um, necessarily, I mean, probably could, not necessarily have like Elon Musk on his show, but he could either meet with Elon Musk or be at an event where Elon Musk is, which is the same thing that like a CNN host would have had in terms of, let's say them being able to get access to Bloomberg or some other billionaire who might be considered to be liberal or something like that. Like he's in that inner circle. He's connected to the circle of ultimate power, right? Look at what Trump is doing. He's defying the courts. He's pushing the limits. I mean, he's just steamrolling. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I don't care. He's doing a war with the whole trade war with the whole world. I mean, he is part of that circle. But yet, something as simple as that, like he can't even just be like, "Yeah, you're right." No, he has to be like, "Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. You're crazy. Oh, you think I'm as powerful as the as the that's the this and the that and the that and the that." And it's just saying stupid things. Like she clearly was not implying that he was like a god and he was the most powerful. She said part of the new mainstream. But the idea of him being part of a mainstream, maybe it's a branding exercise because maybe part of his brand is he's supposed to be an outsider. So as a business thing, he's trying to, shut that up. Like, yeah, me, mainstream. Maybe deep down inside he knows that he's part of the mainstream and that's why he's playing games. But I just find it interesting all the negative comments about how, you know, they're looking at how she's talking to him and there's no recognition of why she's doing that, right? If he was more manning up, I'm pretty sure she would talk to him more like a man, right? If he was just straight up like, you know what, you're right, and not saying you gotta agree with everything she's saying, but if she's saying something that's like legit, just acknowledge it. Why you have to be everything is so defensive? Oh no, 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 we don't have any power. Oh, like everything is just he just can't fathom that he's part of this inner circle of power now. Like, and I don't know how much more power. Like, what would it take for him to feel like he's part of some new establishment? Does he have to work in the White House? Like, is that what he's is that what it would take for him to be like, I'm part of the establishment now? Does he have to like himself be a billionaire? Like, does it have to be formed an official like cabal? Like, like we're officially a unit, and it's like Tim Dillon and Trump and whatever, and they have weekly meetings. Like, how much more power, you know, do you need to be a part of? Right? You're part of a circle of people that have tremendous power, that have the ultimate power in this country. I don't know what more it would take for him to be part of this elite like new mainstream. Like I said before, I think in my previous video, like does he feel like he needs to be a god or something? Like he needs to be supernatural? Like because I don't know how much higher. Like when you're in a circle that includes the richest man in the world, like I don't know how you get more power than that. Like you know what I mean? Like what are you talking about? The Democrats don't have in their circle the richest man in the world. It's you guys, right? You got the richest man in the world. You got the most powerful man in the world, Donald Trump, right? You got the heads of all these, FBI, CIA, DA. Like, that's tremendous power. And you don't just have people who like you have loyalists in these organizations. Like, what more power, what more establishment is there other than, you know, I'm in a circle that heads the FBI, the CIA, the Department of Homeland Security, the executive branch, the entire Congress. Like, bro, like, you've made it. Hmm. So the other thing that I noticed is that this was kind of revealing something else that I'm now recognizing about the right wing. I mean, it's something that's been talked about before. This perpetual victimhood thing. This is like what I saw before with the views. Right wing channels were getting millions and millions of views on average. So many of them were like multi-million subscriber channels. Left wing channels were so far behind. I mean, the gaps were like in the millions. You have like a top left wing channel with like 800,000 subscribers, and then you have the average top right wing channel that was like 2 to 3 million subscribers, and then their views are like, hundreds of thousands of views per video, and even then there was this victimhood of like, oh, we're being suppressed, they don't allow our content, and liberal, and YouTube's liberal, and they're hiding what we're saying, and we don't have freedom of speech. Like, so I saw that. And now this thing about like them forming a new establishment, getting the ultimate power, and they still want to hang on to this boogeyman of like, ooh, the deep state. Who the fuck is in the deep state? Is Trump a moron? With all the power and like how he's just like busting through things, but somehow he's left some deep state people that are just like hanging around. Like, who's got power in the government that I give up, man. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Tim Dillon interview and the feedback from it from people who, I don't know. I guess they're struggling to recognize what's happening in this interview. And this is what happens if you watch for years and years. And it's not just a right wing media thing. People telling you mainstream media this, mainstream media that, mainstream media this mainstream media boogeyman talk. Then when you see her, she's part of CNN. You can't think straight. You just see her. Oh, corporate media, right? So it's in one ear and out the other. And then he's representing like an outsider, so you feel more connected to him. So you're seeing things from his perspective and kind of like, oh my goodness, look how she's talking to him, and she's being so ridiculous and da 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 da. But you're not really listening or hearing anything that she's saying, and you can't even fathom why she was acting so weird, right? You don't see how Tim Dillon was just like impossible to talk to, just like a typical American right winger. You can't handle the truth, but that is the truth. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well.